Okay, boys and girls, now we're going to get into a little bit more detailed stuff with adding and subtracting with unlike denominators. Let's start with one that looks fairly simple. Let's do 1/2 plus 1/3. Now remember, in some of our previous lessons we talked about the fact we cannot add fractions with unlike denominators. We must have the same denominator. Here I've got 2 and here's 3. Two different denominators. They must be the same. At this point we start working with our multiples, counting by that particular number until we get a match. So if this denominator is 2 and this denominator is 3, I want to start counting by those numbers. So I'll take 2, 4, and 6. And if I count by 3s, 3 and 6, well, already I have a match. That tells me my least common multiple, which we'll refer to as LCM, least common multiple, will be 6. That means both of these fractions need to be changed to something over 6. Now, remember back, if you need to go back and review the equivalent fraction lesson, you might need to do that. But at this point, we're simply going to do equivalent fractions. I found my new denominator by using what? My LCM, least common multiple. That simply meant I took this denominator and this denominator, counted by those two numbers until I got a match. And at that point, I'm finished with that portion. Now let's go back and do equivalent fractions. My rule says if I can get from 2 to 6 by multiplying by 3, if I have 3 on the bottom, I must have 3 on the top. And we've done enough of these, you should remember that. 1 times 3 will give me 3/6. Same thing on the bottom. 3 times some number will equal 6. Well, that number, of course, is 2. Again, rule states 2 is on the bottom, 2 must be on the top. 1 times 2 is 2. So now, if you notice, I've got two fractions that I can add together. 3/6 and 2/6. And that will give me an answer of 5/6. 5/6. Okay? Alright, here's our next one. This is 1/3 plus 1/4. Again, two different denominators, cannot do that. I must find a common denominator. So if I take this number, my denominator of 3, 3, 6, 9, and 12, and this denominator of 4, 8, and 12, then I find that my LCM is going to be 12. That means I need to change both of these into something over 12. Same thing as we did with the last one. New denominator is 12. 4 times some number, which is 3, will equal 12. So rule says 3 is on bottom, 3 is on top. 3 times 4 equals 12 on this one. 4 is on bottom, 4 is on top. So I get a new fraction of 4/12 plus 3/12. Now gives me an answer of 7/12. 7/12. Now, I'll leave this one up. I'm going to put one up here. I want you to write that and work out on your own. Now, here's your problem. 1/3 plus 1/5. Write that fraction or that problem down. Pause your video, work it out, come back and check your answer and see what you've got. Okay, again, I must find a new denominator. Can't use 3 and 5. It's two different numbers. So 3 and 5, I'm going to count. 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. If I count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, then my first match of these two numbers, going up my times tables, my first match is 15. That 15 is my LCM. Remember that phrase, acronym for LCM, least common multiple. That LCM will now become my LCD, which is my least common denominator. Please remember those terms. Least common multiple is this, and it turns into your least common denominator of 15. So now I need to multiply 3 times 5, get 15. So 5 is on bottom, 5 is on top. That gives me 5/15. The bottom one, 5 times 3 in this case, will give me 15. 3 is on bottom, 3 is on top, so 1 times 3. Now I can add this together. 5 plus 3 will give me an answer of 8/15. 8/15. If you had this answer right here, you did a very good job. Now this is your next practice problem. Three-fifths plus 1/3. 3/5 plus 1/3. Write that down, pause your video, and come back and let's see how we did. Once again, I need to use my least common multiples. So I'm going to take 5, 10, and 15. Take this denominator of 3. And once again, my least common multiple will become 15. Okay, so this is my first part. Least common multiple becomes least common denominator. Now again, back to equivalent fractions. 5 times 3, 3 is on bottom, 3 is on top. 3 times 3 will give me 9. 3 times 5, 5 is on bottom, 5 is on top. So that gives me 5/15. 9 plus 5 will give me 14/15. If that's your answer, you did a very good job once again. I want to pick up the pace a little bit. Now you may have to go back and repeat some of these and play them 2 or 3 times, but I need to kind of pick the pace up a little bit. Suppose we've got one that looks like this. Alright, again, 3/4 plus 4/5, 2 different denominators. I need to count 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, and 20. So my LCM of this one will become 20. New denominator is 20. I must do equivalent fraction to get from here to here. 4 times 5, 5's on bottom, 5's on top. 3 times 5 is 15. And 5 times 4 here. 4 is on bottom, 4 on top. That gives me 16. Now let's look at what happens next. Once I've done this part, I will get an answer of 31/20. This is different from the last few that we've done. This is now giving us an answer that is an improper fraction. Remember, you cannot leave it in that form. So you must do this next step right here. And if we do that, we'll have a remainder of 11. My 11 goes up top. My divisor of 20 goes underneath it. And that would be an answer of 1 11/20. 1 11/20. Okay, let's look at one of these again. Let's do 2/3 plus 3/4. Write this one down. I want you to work this one out. I think you can do this by now. 2/3 plus 3/4. Pause your video, work it out, and come back and check it. All right, 2 different denominators, 3 and 4. So I've got 3, 6, 9, and 12, and 4, 8, and 12. So my new denominator will be 12. Equivalent fraction. Equivalent fraction. Add that together. This time I get 17/12. Again, I have an improper fraction that I cannot leave in that form. So I must divide 12 into 17. If I do that, this is what I'll have left over. And if that's what you had, you did a good job on that once again. Okay, we'll stop off on this. I'll pick up in a subsequent video to have some more of these, and we'll begin to add some more mixed numbers and some subtraction to that as well.